Hello, everybody. Welcome to CATA Lunch and Learn. Thank you for joining us for a 30-minute lunch debate on this fine Thursday. We have two speakers today, Dan and Sarah.
Hi.
Just a little housekeeping. We're all muted to avoid any background noise. And I'll encourage all of you to put your questions into the chat and we'll run through them later. So straight on. Today, we're going to discuss future store formats, which I'm presuming this is why everyone's here. Great. I'm going to ask the first question. Dan and Sarah, you ready? If convenience is king and physical proximity is everything, what does this mean for our retail spaces moving forward?
Thanks, Meha. Thanks for introducing us, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll start on this one. I think, to sort of peel back the question a little bit, physical proximity is everything because convenience is becoming so much more important to customers, and convenience means different things to different customers. Sometimes that will mean having that store within a 3-minute walking distance, or it might mean having something delivered within 10 minutes, and we've looked at these sorts of sectors before. I think really it's about what is getting closer to your customers, what counts as close enough, and then how do you balance the distribution side of retail? Because if you can't get it to customers in a way that's profitable for you, then that's not a business model that's sustainable. So a store format that answers that last mile delivery part of the equation is going to be really important, and whether that means a store format that focuses partly on back of house and on click and collect rather than the customer facing parts, that might be something to consider. I think really there's something I read recently. Peter Jeckelby, the head of UK and Ireland for IKEA, he was talking about their plans and the various things that IKEA is doing, so launching IKEAs without car parks. And what he fundamentally said was, we can't just be what we always were. And I think that's a useful sort of rule of thumb. It doesn't give you any answers in terms of this store format, A, B, C, D is correct, depending on demographics or location or a host of other metrics that I think retailers would typically have looked at when they decided what to put where. But what it does show you is trends have changed so much, customer habits and expectations have accelerated, and it's about how to respond to those with the right solution.
Yeah, and I think there isn't an easy answer to this future store formats, which is that it's 7,000 square feet and it's in this particular location. What I think it is that all brands are going to have to get closer to their customers, and that means lots of different things, but customers are getting ever more used to being able to shop when they want and how they want, whether that's online or through click and collect or through physically visiting spaces, shopping, doing it very traditionally and taking it home themselves. And all sectors are having to adapt to this, and basically the format strategy has got to be linked very closely to your channel strategy and to your customer engagement proposition, and how and where different customers engage with you at different times, and also within different need states. Have your same loyal customer will shop in your stores, will also shop with you online, will use your app, and will possibly get some of your products through a third party, depending on how that works. And there's no one answer, but one thing is for sure is that this convergence of kind of convenience means that you've got to, as Sarah said at the beginning, all brands need to get the right amount of close to their customers. And that obviously means in grocery, it means literally being a corner store, being very close, being very convenient, being walking distance, having that right a connection. Yeah. For other stores and other brands, it will mean being in the right town, it will mean being in the right kind of shopping centre or retail park. And we'll also, but all of this is bolstered by all of the digital channels that you communicate and connect and deliver your products through. So there's not one answer, but what it is about it's possibly more and smaller is a kind of a general rule for pretty much all sectors, and certainly more diverse. We've just seen today actually that H&M have announced their 6 months results. Global 6 months results to the end of May, and their profit and sales are up across pretty much all of their channels. And two of their three priorities are more stores in emerging markets. So again, this is a brand that is looking and realizing that physical touch points have got great value, And so its particular focuses on North and South America, where there's less development of the brand than there is in Europe and Asia. But the other one is actually to continue to diversify the brands that they offer. And so if you think of a brand as a format, because it's about creating a collection of products to suit a particular need, what H&M is doing is actually creating more and more formats, so, that are differently branded, looking to appeal to different segments, and looking to appeal to different age groups. Now, I'm not suggesting that works for everybody, but what it is showing is that mutability and that broad selection of ways in which customers interact with you, and the level of choice that you give them, because that's also a bit, if you again looking at grocery, we've seen local stores all the way up to hypermarkets proliferate over the last 25 years, and it's about what products do you need and where. And to Sarah's point, and also kind of IKEA's point as well, is that IKEA's 50,000 square feet in Hammersmith Mall, or 150,000 square feet when it opens in Oxford Circus, is a small format store, because it's not 750,000 square feet out of town. And so there's a lot of thinking to be done about how you get your products and the right collection of products in the right place.
It's interesting that you're talking about the corner stores and the proximity, the question of physical proximity. We've seen Tesco announce that they wanted to become, I think they said we want to be the most convenient grocery retailer, something like that. And to that end, the plan is to open, I think it's more than 50 stores this year, and a lot of those stores are, a metro-style high street offer. So it's about these small formats for young, urban, affluent city dwellers. They're not going to have everything, because of that they can't have as many SKUs as the big box, but they've got a bit of everything, and they're judging that that's the right sort of balance to go for. I know that recently you've been down to the M&S in Stevenage, which is arguably at the opposite end of that spectrum. I think, is it 75,000 square feet?
Yeah,
it's of mixed retail, and including the food store. And perhaps you want to tell us a bit about that.
I mean, it is. 75,000 square feet is a big store, but it's half the size of what they've got in Cheshire Oaks, or less than half the size of what they have in Marble Arch, which they're trying to downsize. And we all recognise that a lot of the big formats are not necessarily long-term fit for purpose across retail, and that they are now overspaced. We can see what M&S are trying to do, even though their planning continually is getting rejected in Marble Arch. It's clear that they're overspaced and they need a more compact retail offer. And that's what what Stevenage has done is created a great I think kind of benchmark for M&S in terms of their confidence, but also a great local store. It's 75,000 square feet. It's in an out of town location, but it's very easy to drive to. It's right next to the motorway. They're probably within an hour of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of potential customers. So local doesn't necessarily mean in the community, but adjacent to and near enough to. And what they've done that's very good is that I think, as a general kind of confidence from Marks and Spencer, they've got a much better method of navigation. Their signage package is much improved. Their communications are much improved. Product presentation has been raised, and it's a very good mix of a thorough, not even necessarily a capsule, but a very strong focus on women's wear, on lingerie and underwear, on menswear, home and food, along with a cafe, an in-store cafe, which was, when I was there a month or so ago on a Saturday, had a queue of people waiting to get in at 12:30. So it's a confident display of what is a smaller, more focused offer. And they've done a lot of work on their range. It's not just the store and the space. It's the product and the positioning of that product as well, and how they sell it and brand it. But it's a very strong position, and I think that there's that ability to think about what happens back of house as well. So is that a replenishment, and is that a provision of kind of stock distribution? I think looking at Argos, they've done very well over the last 20-30 years, in not just in terms of being well positioned to be ready for the switch to online, but also in understanding that you can get a greater density of products into a community or into your stores by having more of it in the warehouse. So maybe there's a move, more to showrooming as well as product presentation. I don't think just having a warehouse is the right way forward for many brands, or just having a warehouse where you're effectively collecting or facilitating click and collect, but having less product on the sales floor and developing methods of getting the right product to the right customer very quickly within the store could unlock a lot more efficiency.
It's interesting that you mentioned Argos. We've talked about this business of a store that has, very much a customer-facing element that acts as a gathering place. So a reason for people to go either together, to shop together, or to meet friends, or simply because there's enough of a pull there, there's enough interest, there's enough intrigue, there'll be something there that will surprise and delight them, or there's a hospitality element that you can't replicate online, because obviously you can't eat and drink online, metaverse notwithstanding. But the back of house element, we've talked about we've seen some models for this, and it's quite interesting because there's an Accenture store of tomorrow concept, and what it talks about is having this quite substantial back of house area. As the customer, you scan with your phone the products you want, your basic everyday groceries, and then within 15 minutes the order will be ready for you to take. And I know, Dan, you had concerns about it because you said the 15 minutes is just is not something anyone's going to stand for. And we saw the same problem being raised with the Amazon Style, which is this fashion, it's this apparel store that Amazon have opened in somewhere in LA, and it's probably very much a test and learn rather than something that's going to be rolled out. But the reviewer had very positive things to say about the experience overall, but they did identify the problem being that if you want to try on the clothes, you have to zap what you want and then they'll go to your fitting room, but it took up to 15 minutes, and this was at a quiet time of day, so there was no sensible reason, unless it's a question of the technology taking a little bit long to bed in. But it's this question of how is the tech for it, one of the things we want to talk about is how will technology help?
Yeah.
It's all very slick and it's very clever, but is there actually a huge advantage in it if the customer's time is being taken up waiting for the tech to do its bit? I mean, I would say no.
No, it can't be. You can't. Everybody. Time is no, not right now. While we're in an inflationary period, time is not necessarily just as important as money. But people are incredibly, time poor and very conscious of time. I just don't think that no matter how clever your operation or your new business model is that you're testing, getting people to wait is not going to work. Imagine, going to a shoe shop and having to wait 15 minutes for a pair of shoes. It's just too much of a barrier. It won't happen. So the technology, whatever it's got to do, is got to underpin the experience, but it's got to make it easier, or it's got to solve a problem for somebody. When we were talking to a French grocery startup a couple of years ago, which was tech driven, fairly traditional shopping model in terms of you pick it yourself and you get to the counter, but you're using the app and you're paying as you go. But their premise was that actually at the end of the journey, if you didn't want to, you wouldn't take your shopping home with you. You would leave it there, and it would then be delivered 1 or 2 hours later to allow you to continue with your day. They'd identified that there were a lot of Parisians, and this was a Paris-focused, very urban concept. They were looking for 5 or 6 sites around Paris, but recognised that a lot of people would like to do their shopping during the day while they have a break, but actually don't want to carry it around. So by doing that and then setting a delivery time later in the day, you've solved the problem and made the experience more time efficient for the customer. And this was hyper local. They weren't going to deliver more than in a 1 or 2 kilometre radius. So it was very, very focused on creating neighbourhood stores. The other one that's interesting from a concept point of view is that as a new food brand we're talking to in the UK at the moment, that is looking to launch in London, but with very small sites, neighbourhood sites, sub 1,000 square feet. But only half of that space will be customer facing. The rest of it will be for fulfilling online orders or wherever else the orders come from. But what the other interesting thing they want to do is actually, rather than using aggregators, is to own the delivery, to own that extra bit of operational headache or opportunity to make sure that the brand touch points are consistent. So it's not Deliveroo or Just Eat or someone else handing over that product. It's your own driver delivering your customer experience and your product to your customers.
And what that means is, as you know, Dan, my brother-in-law runs a pizza company, and they have all their own delivery drivers. They run it all themselves, and it is a huge headache. But the advantage is that when you want to switch on your fan base, your customer base, to win a Time Out award and get the votes in, it happens and it works, and you beat your next competitor by a matter of 100 votes, a smaller business, but because they own that relationship, they have that ability to use customers for promotion, for marketing, all that sort
Absolutely.
of thing, make the most of the loyalty.
And I think on delivery, we talked about rapid delivery 2 or 3 months ago, and obviously, the economic weather has changed massively since we were talking about how much impact the sub 15-minute delivery sector may have on legacy retailers. I actually feel like at the moment there's an opportunity for physical space. We know that if you look at grocery, particularly just because of the tight margins there, everybody struggles to make any money on delivery grocery. So the advantage of getting people to shop in your stores, as Tesco are doing, by trying to get your stores closer to your people, is better than A, losing the sales to a competitor, or B, even keeping those sales but having to deliver them through digital channels. Of course, you've got to keep those channels. You can't turn them off, because as we said at the top, people want to interact with your brand in lots of different ways. But physical stores are always going to be more profitable than online, because you're getting customers to do more, even if it's click and collect. If you're getting customers to make that journey, bring themselves to the store and take the product away, that's better than you owning that delivery process.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. Love this topic. Thank you both. We have some questions for you. The first one, quick one, this one is, have either of you experienced any kind of futuristic, or that's a vision of the future in retail spaces recently?
So I'm not sure if I call it futuristic, but in terms of picking up on something Dan said about being amenable to your customers, whether that is ordering something online or whether it's going to pick it up, I think McDonald's are doing a really good job, because they are platform agnostic. You can order them via any of the aggregators, or you can order it, or you can go in, you can buy it with your phone, you can use the screen, you can find someone if you want to speak to someone. So what they've done is, a large legacy retailer like McDonald's, it's not like a tech startup coming in. They will have had to go through huge internal organisation to make all of these different channels work. But they've even got a metaverse world, or whatever you call it. There you are. I need to do a bit more research on that. But you can buy McDonald's in the metaverse with your friends and then have it delivered. And that's not necessarily going to be a huge channel for them right now, but I think it shows a really admirable willingness to try new things, to be amenable, and to recognise that what the customer wants is the most important thing, and the product is what they want, but the how they get it, the distribution piece, is as important.
And I think also, for me, I'll answer your question in a second briefly, also, Meher, but just to build on what Sarah said about McDonald's, I was very sceptical when they started pushing kiosk ordering, because I felt they were giving away a customer interaction. They're giving away that opportunity for a staff member to talk directly to a customer and create that positive impression. But I think what I'd misunderstood was the shift in demographics, the shift in what people want, what younger people particularly want, and how they want to interact with brands, and their comfort of working with screens of all types. It just meant that my thinking was outdated, and I think it's incredibly brave and to make such a huge investment and to see it paying off. So I think, I would kind of agree that I think McDonald's, and to a lesser extent, I think Nando's are doing some interesting thing in the digital space as well. But to your question of store of the future, what's the most amazing magic thing I've seen? I would say this year it has to be M&S Stevenage, which I've already talked about, and precisely because it's not all singing, dancing, bells and whistles, brand new, complicated format, trialing out lots of things. It's just a legacy retailer showing it's got confidence, showing it's able to try things, showing that it's very good at what it's supposed to do, and particularly as a brand that has had its fair share of ups and downs over the last couple of decades. It's great to see a confident presentation of product and offer and services, and a clearly defined message around that store.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
really cool.
The interesting thing about Marks & Spencer, just very quickly, is that I think that there is a will and a desire for a business like Marks & Spencer to succeed among the great British public. It's an institution. So by putting their best foot forward and showing that confidence, they're doing their part of the bargain, and now it'll be a question of how customers respond. And
I'd agree, and I think
amazing.
I think their new food concept that they've launched about 3 years ago, and is now, I don't know how many sites they've got, is similarly successful in that it's correctly focused, and they're putting it in the right locations as well. So it's your property strategy is just as important as your formats.
Lovely. So we have another question from Joseph. Hi, Joseph. Thank you for joining. Amazon have recently opened their first fresh store outside of London in Kent, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you think this format will be adapted for larger core store formats and work outside of big cities? Would it work?
I think it's very interesting, and I think time will tell. We talked about Just Walk Out tech a few months ago, and I think that if it can work and if customers adapt to it and take it on and like it, then it's cost effective in the sense that you're making savings, or you've got the same costs to staff with tech as you would do with checkouts. Then I think it's got the potential to be transformative. Because particularly in grocery, the biggest pain point is the checkout and the queue. It's different in different retailers. Some of that, as I just talked about at McDonald's, in other sorts of shopping, that opportunity to have a conversation or have a brand interaction with someone who's one of your team members is actually really quite important. So it was not for everybody, but I think that Amazon and the other grocers' experiments with this tech will be interesting to see how it is taken up. I think the jury's out at the moment, but I think it's certainly got the potential to really shake up customer journeys and the amount of time you spend in the store, because for certain sectors, as we've said, it's a real pain point. But again, Primark or mass market fast fashion is a place where it looks on the surface like it would be great because they have the same they suffer from the same problem, but I don't know that the tech is advanced enough to be able to tell the difference between a small, medium and large red t-shirt with the same design.
Two different nearly identical pairs of jeans.
I think there's a way to go, but
the Go stores have got the Amazon walkout stores, the fresh ones. They've got big ones in the US, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, I remember you guys talking about this before.
Yeah, they've got.
So there is potential to have big stores here then.
Well, yeah, there's also the potential to have a blended customer journey. What we've seen at the moment is that in the UK at least, the retailers from Amazon to Aldi to Tesco and Sainsbury's have created a customer journey which is, it's a Just Walk Out only journey. You can't come in just with a credit card and a basket and do a traditional shop. In Germany, there are 2 or 3 retailers who are trialling both at the same time, i.e. within the same store. And I think that what we'll begin to see, again, it's going to come back to choice and allowing people to shop and interact with you the way that they want to. I understand why the testing has been very black and white so far in the UK, because you want to, if you give people a choice, then often people will continue to shop the way they're comfortable. Whereas if you force them to change, you'll gather more data about how easy is that shift to create, how easy is the mindset to create, and then how are people interacting with the store once they're shopping in this new way.
Yeah, and I think the Sevenoaks location for Amazon is quite an interesting choice, because you've got a lot of people who will be used to or contactless already. So a lot of people living there who commute into London. So
yeah,
right. So Ian, well, Joseph, I hope that helps. Ian Scott, hello Ian, how are you? Thank you for joining. He has comments. I don't think this is a question. Amazon recently opened a suburban Go store in Washington State. The Just Walk Out tech is going to gather momentum and eventually populate other categories of retail. I'm pretty sure we agree with that. Fashion may take a while. The movement of fabric tricks the camera. As you say, stock keeping measurement of size is an issue too.
Where we have,
I didn't think of that. The movement of fabric. You didn't think of that.
Well, I think it's interesting because in the trials we've seen of apparel using this tech at the moment, and they're pop-ups only. I've only seen it being used as pop-ups, basically at festivals in the States. I think Verizon and a couple of other brands have partnered to do this, but all the apparel is pre-packed, so it's kind of like a band T-shirt that is in a cellophane wrapper that is obviously identifiable in some way to the tech. So I think there are going to be lots of hurdles to overcome, but there's also some really interesting grocery tech which is looking at AI and camera recognition to actually look to be able to tell what the product is. So it doesn't need to know where it is or where you picked it up from. So you remove the location part of it from the current tech, and it's literally just it knows what you're holding. The cameras are sufficiently good quality, and the definition and the AI is great. There's quite a lot of investment going in there. I've forgotten temporarily what the company's called, but if we find out, we'll or if I find out, when we issue the video, we'll put a link to it, because I think that's fascinating.
Interesting. Do you think so? If there are any more questions, please put them in the chat. We've got a couple more minutes still, but in the meantime, do you both think that this technology, the future will come to a point of actually it's not about the format, the physical format of the store, but it's reaching being available to the consumer at every touch point in any which way that they prefer? So having the options for the consumer at every single touch point, rather than the consumer having to adapt to what the company wants. So if you want me to shop from your store, I have to download this app and do this and do that. Whereas actually, I can come to you and I can do this. And, I think it's a different way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah, I think we talk, getting closer is what we've just been talking about. So I think it's all about getting closer and being available where and when your customers want you to be available. I think that outside of certain kind of venerable Harrods, Le Bon Marché, Le Samaritan, Selfridges, kind of giant cathedrals of retail. The days of super large stores that have everything on offer are probably past, are probably behind us, because your endless aisle of your website or your app, where everything is available to be delivered, is the way that sort of offer gets shopped now, and will do. But yes, bringing different things close to, this is why we talked about Argos, that the fulfillment of orders and the ability to have stock close to customers. It may be that the sub 15-minute category goes in the wind, and in a year's time nobody's left, or only one or two people are left, and like Uber, they're still not making money and they're raising their prices, and it's just going to wither. But if you are a national grocery chain with the right number of stores, you can then offer a sub 1 hour or sub 2 hour offer, as they already are, and you can very well clean up, because actually people don't really need, it's great to get stuff in under 15 minutes, but actually you probably just need it the same day, so I think there's lots of different, and I think same day for apparel and other non-grocery retailers, if that can be cracked through having stores that are allowed to work as hubs to spread the product out, and to get it to people, that can be a big advantage. I want, I need a new dress because I'm going to a party tonight or whatever. Here it is, and it's coming to my office, or to my home, or wherever I am. Or it's being dropped off somewhere where I can pick it up because it's only 5 minutes walk.
Convenient. Or it's on my way to X, Y, Z.
So all of these things that we see as this infrastructure around delivery and around getting products close to people, as Sarah said right at the beginning, that are about all the last mile challenges. I think that's where a lot of the innovation will be, but getting stores closer is a key part of that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to call it now, because we promised half an hour, because it's a lunch break. Don't want to take up too much time. We're taking summer break from webinars, so you'll hear from us towards the end of the summer, but I will be sending out the recording of this if you want to have a listen again. Please do feel free to contact us at any time. We're on all social channels, and enquiries@cada.co.uk. You can always just contact Sarah or Dan.
Any platform, any channel.
Any platform, any channel. That's always the case. If there are things that you guys want to hear from us about, if there are topics that people think of, hey, email in. We're always looking for something new, some new challenges. But in the meantime, have a great summer break if we don't speak to anybody in that time. Enjoy your summers. It seems to have already started with the crazy hot weather, but thanks everybody for joining. This has been a great session.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye everybody.